to Saturday. Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell. Alexa, what time is it? I'd like to welcome everyone to the Hardcore Show starting soon, where we will go over a few things this weekend. One of them being Ghislaine Maxwell, her profile, and how everything started, and her influence from her multi-billion-dollar father. Coming up next. Well, welcome. I don't have an intro, so I just decided to whistle. Um, Good afternoon. It is 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 7/18/2020. Like I said, it's a Saturday. I spent since Sunday. My wife and I headed with my mother and a bunch of my relatives. We went to my sister's wedding that was last Saturday over in Muskegon, and then we headed back here Sunday morning, then shot all the way up north, and I've been there ever since. Had some um, nice campfire with my wife and my childhood friend Bob Coleman. We had a good time. I posted some pictures on Facebook. So today, if you didn't hear that little bit of intro, that I'm want to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. I hope I pronounce it right. Ghislaine Maxwell, her profile, and what um, really her upbringing from her multi-million-dollar father and things like that. So what I wanted to also do is kind of recap. I did my first test podcast talking about Ghislaine Maxwell and her what I believe is the one of the masterminds, if not the mastermind, in the sexual problems of soliciting young minors to high executives and rich people and celebrities. I have something queued up right now. I'd like to bring it up. Oh, wrong button. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're gonna just learn a little bit of about her upbringing, and I'll stop the video every now and then and give a little, you know, thought when it's comfortable. We'll watch it together. This is a profile about her and her British socialite capabilities, and how she grew up and why she's the twisted madam soliciting underage children for sex and who knows what. So we're going to start it.
She's the socialite who was a big name in American and British high society for decades, hosting glamorous dinner parties and hanging out with powerful people. But did Ghislaine Maxwell use her connections for something unimaginable? She stands accused of grooming underage girls for her ex-boyfriend and confidant, Jeffrey Epstein. Yet while her name is now infamous,
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
She's still somewhat of a riddle wrapped in a mystery who managed to evade the FBI for nearly a year. So who exactly is Ghislaine Maxwell? Ghislaine Noëlle Marion Maxwell was born in France on Christmas Day in 1961, the ninth and youngest child of Elizabeth and Robert Maxwell, a newspaper baron and member of parliament. But more about him later. She grew...
Well, first of all, a member of parliament. I mean, are we hearing this? A member of parliament. I hope everybody's hearing this right. I can't really see. Let me see.
Grew up in Headington Hill Hall.
They should be hearing it. Okay. So, grew up in, was in parliament. I mean, in Britain, if you're in parliament, you control everything. You're right there with the king and the queen. And let's see what else happens. You obviously know that one of the royals is deep into this and may eventually be forced to testify more. And but the Brits and the Queen are saying that they're above reproach. So we'll find out what happens. Let's check out some more.
in Oxford, a lavish mansion with more than 50 rooms. She went first to Oxford High School. From there, she went to Marlborough College, one of the most expensive public schools in the country. She then studied at Balliol College, Oxford. It's widely reported that Ghislaine was her father's favourite child, hence he named his luxury yacht after her. In an interview with Tatler in 2000, she called her father inspiring. Robert Maxwell's biographer wrote that from the time Ghislaine was at Oxford, her father forbade her boyfriends from coming to the house or being seen with her. He suspected that any man seeking his daughter was a gold digger.
Well, that I believe is understandable. When you're a multi-millionaire, you want to kind of make sure that people aren't trying to play people. But I think I haven't watched this video, so I'm kind of watching it together. But I think we're going to find out more about this guy, that he's probably as creepy as his daughter.
Reports suggest Robert wanted his youngest daughter to marry John F. Kennedy Jr., thus creating a powerful dynasty.
Wait a minute. Now, he wanted young JFK, who was messing around with many different models. Back then, got married and unfortunately passed away. In a mysterious plane crash. I don't know if you know anything more about it. He was experienced, and for some reason he took off in his plane during a storm. Now, people say that there was some fighting between the wife and him because of his extra activities. A Kennedy with extra activities. Who would have figured? You know. So let's continue.
Indeed, to understand Ghislaine, we need to know more about her father, how he came into wealth, and how he made the Maxwell name a fixture of British high society.
His life has been the stuff of novels. So remarkable was his rise from poverty to millionaire, then his fall, and his ability to bounce back again.
Jan Ludwig Hock was born into a Jewish Orthodox family in then Czechoslovakia in 1923. He managed to flee during the war. However, his parents and much of his immediate family died in the Holocaust. His wife, Elizabeth, said that when she studied her husband's genealogy, I put a little Star of David in front of all the people who had been murdered in the camps. And when I unfolded it, it was like a shower of yellow stars, right through 3 generations. Elizabeth would later devote her life to honouring those who died in the Holocaust, and in 1987 she founded the Holocaust and Genocide Studies Journal. Robert himself would help Soviet Jews move to Israel and invested heavily in the country. During the war, Maxwell fought for both the Czechoslovak resistance and then the British Army, and became a naturalised British citizen shortly after the end of the war, changing his name to Robert Maxwell. He ran a powerful publishing company, Pergamon Press,
and no one has any doubt that Pergamon is a sound business,
and served as the Labour Member of Parliament for Buckingham in the 1960s. Then in 1984, he bought the Mirror Group newspapers, becoming the media baron rival to Rupert Murdoch.
This quest of yours for a national newspaper, is it because you really are after power?
Well, no, it is not because I'm after power. I certainly would hope to make a small contribution with the help of these newspapers, if I become proprietor, to halting the retreat of Great Britain, which has gone on for so long that the natives have forgotten that they're going backwards.
How tough a proprietor?
So, her father fought in war, started business, became a multi-millionaire. He became he owned a news station. If you know anything about the power, if you're in mainstream media, how you can twist things to be your way. So no matter whatever outcome is true, you can bend or deflect it, and either your opponent or someone else that you want to sidetrack from whatever you want them to know about you. Deflecting is what they call it. And newspapers print a bunch of fake news. So let's see what's happening.
Do you think you are?
How tough I am, or whether I'm friendly or rows, you must ask those people that work with me. I tend not to have rows.
Maxwell also owned Oxford United and Derby County, but he was prevented by the authorities from adding Watford to the list.
If my family hadn't got involved in Oxford, Oxford would have been finished. Same applies to Derby.
I don't know if you noticed that, but he's sitting right next to Sir John, Elton John, who has a bit of a past himself. So let's see let's see what else the rabbit hole opens. Okay, you can see there's a picture of her when she's quite young at some benefit or something. Let's see what's happening.
For his daughter, Maxwell made her director of his football club, Oxford United. But she also went her own way, founding something called the Kit Kat Club, a group that brought together powerful women from the arts. The author, Anna Pasternak, attended the meetings and told The Telegraph, "Ghislaine was very mindful of who you were, your status, your importance. I think it was more a way of advancing herself, making contacts that could be useful to her." But tragedy struck in 1991. Robert Maxwell disappeared from his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, off the Canary Islands.
At 11 o'clock, a business call from New York was put through to Mr. Maxwell's stateroom. That went unanswered, alerting the captain, who raised the alarm. An air and sea search was launched. Several hours later, Mr. Maxwell's body was found by the pilot of a Spanish sea rescue helicopter, winched aboard and taken to Las Palmas.
His funeral took place in Jerusalem and was attended by both the Israeli president and prime minister. He was then buried on the Mount of Olives. But it emerged that Maxwell had left debts of £400 million, and that led to conspiracy theories about his death. There were reports he was the agent for the Israeli intelligence agency, Mossad, and had threatened to divulge secrets, thus prompting his murder.
One day they make him a KGB agent, the next day he's a Mossad agent, the third day he's a CIA agent. The poor man, I mean, he would have had a life dedicated to spying, you know, and when you think of what he pushed into his life, where on earth would he have found the time? Without him, somehow, life is cold out there.
And it was revealed that Maxwell had illegally taken more than £300 million worth of pension money, leaving...
Okay, let's recap this. He ends up missing. I told you that he's probably using his power through the paper and making deals, and then he ends up dead. Now they say conspiracy, that he owes money, there's stuff missing, and probably held a lot of secrets over people, and people don't like that. So he mysteriously is dead on a yacht. And they found him in the water, obviously. He wasn't, they didn't say they had to do a helicopter to find him. That means whatever happened to him, he was floated in the water. So, I mean, they didn't go to the boat. They said he's missing, he's might be dead, and they had to use a seaplane to whatever. So, let's keep going.
Thousands of employees fearing the worst for their future.
In 1988, he was defrauding his staff at Mirror Group newspapers of their pension funds. But he still filmed this corporate video, effectively leading his lambs to the slaughter.
I'm addressing you today for the purpose of persuading you that it is in your and your family's best interest to remain a member of whichever pension scheme you are a member of in our group.
It took them nearly 4 years to receive compensation for the funds that Maxwell had taken from them.
I guess it doesn't take far for the apple to fall from the tree. I mean, it looks so far that this guy was corrupt, using his position to get what he wanted, and also embezzle and distort or get people's money from them, and just like it sounds like what Ghislaine Maxwell was doing. So let's continue.
The pensioner in his own heart, he knows the trauma that we went through. And to say that, you know, oh, well, it's all over. No, it never will be over. Not in my eyes, and I don't think it will with 32,000 other pensioners either.
In the aftermath of his death, his sons Kevin and Ian declared bankruptcy. Both sons went on trial for fraud, but both were later acquitted. But what about Ghislaine? The death of her father was not just a personal tragedy, it changed her life. She appeared on the boat 2 days after his death to deliver a statement and told reporters, "I think he was murdered."
Return to the scene of the crime.
Take this opportunity to thank all the many hundreds of people who have sent messages of support.
For the socialite Ghislaine, the Maxwell name was not what it once had been in England, and she started a new life in New York. But who did she begin this next chapter with? Now she was without the gaze and guidance of her powerful and beloved father. Well, in November 1992, over a year after her father's death, an article appeared in the Mail on Sunday about how Ghislaine had been spotted getting on a Concorde flight from London to New York. Travelling with her was a greying, plumpish, middle-aged American businessman who managed to avoid the photographers. His name is Jeffrey Epstein.
Fudge. So, after everything happened, she's coming back to America, and she's got a plump, as they say, a plump businessman, plush businessman, middle-aged American. Okay, with a photograph, and it's Jeffrey Epstein. The plot is going to thicken after this because these two are career pedophile and criminals.
Shadowy, almost maverick New York property developer who for over a year has helped Ghislaine become a coveted fixture on the Manhattan social scene. During the last year, say friends, she has fallen in love with him and the couple are inseparable. Some acquaintances claim that Epstein controlled Maxwell and that he was an incredibly manipulative man. Other reports suggest Maxwell worshipped Epstein, with friends saying Ghislaine thought they might get married one day. However, according to charges filed in New York, Ghislaine Maxwell is now accused of facilitating Epstein's sexual exploitation and abuse of multiple girls from 1994 to 1997. The charges continue. Maxwell assisted and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known.
I'm sorry, but I believe that she's more than just, you know, a conspirator to it. I believe that she's involved and she's into the weird stuff, and that he's a weirdo and a pedophile, and she used what her influence to get these other wealthy, influenced people to get all their crazy, shitty desires out. And I believe that she is the main player. Epstein was just a pedophile and a loser that had a bunch of stuff on a bunch of people, and that's where no one can really tell where his money came from. We know where her money came from or what she was doing. So let's go on.
Known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. Maxwell denies everything. But who was Epstein himself? Born in Brooklyn, he was a college dropout who found himself at Bear Stearns in the 1970s before founding his own company. If Ghislaine is somewhat of a mystery, so too was Epstein, who owned private jets, mansions, and his own island, and yet the source of much of his wealth was always unknown. But it's reported that Ghislaine offered Epstein a bit of glamour and someone who could connect him to high society in New York and beyond. An investment banker who went to a dinner party hosted by Epstein and Ghislaine said that the real draw of those events was Ghislaine herself. He said Maxwell seemed to be half ex-girlfriend, half employee, half best friend, and fixer. Figures with connections to both Maxwell and Epstein include Donald Trump and Bill Clinton.
Well, let's clarify that. Many people in politics, celebrities, have pictures with a bunch of people. Yes, Donald Trump knew of this guy, but people aren't reporting that Donald Trump used to know him. And when he found out that one of the workers at his Mar-a-Lago resort said that he made a sexual advance or tried something with her, he kicked his ass out immediately. So, but they're not reporting that. It has had nothing to do with him since. Okay. But Clinton, what, they're 30 times, 27, 26 times. And let's go on. But they're just trying to say it's everybody. I can tell you right now, there's a bunch of people. And You're going to find out sooner or later. Right now, this Ghislaine Maxwell, she's in a prison. They're not going to charge her or have any hearing till next year. I don't know why. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. They say she's already talking. So if she's already talking, I heard that there are some serious indictments that have been done up to get more people down. If you notice, there have been some celebrities that people are saying they're wearing a tether. One of them would be the talk show host, Ellen. You know, she's at home doing a show, but people can see that she's wearing a tether. There's some serious stuff going on. So let's continue.
And one of Maxwell's contacts was Prince Andrew, who said he met Epstein through Ghislaine in 1999, and the three are believed to have met up on several occasions. And it was in Ghislaine's townhouse in London that Virginia Giuffre alleges she was forced to have sex with Prince.
So just so you know, his biggest defense is that he believes that this picture is fake, that somebody put his head on this person's body. Just so you know, that's one of his biggest defenses.
Andrew. Buckingham Palace says the Duke of York emphatically denies having any form of sexual contact or relationship with Virginia Giuffre, and that any claim to the contrary is false and without foundation. In 2000, Maxwell moved into a townhouse on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, just a few blocks from Epstein's mansion. It was this mansion that was named in court documents relating to Maxwell's arrest. It was here that Epstein's victims were groomed and/or abused, along with his other residences, an estate in Palm Beach, Florida, a ranch in Santa Fe, New Mexico, as well as Maxwell's personal London residence. The court documents say that Ghislaine helped to procure the underage women for Epstein.
After developing a rapport with the victims, Maxwell then tried to normalize sexual abuse with a minor victim through a process known as grooming. For example, Maxwell would discuss sexual topics with the victim and undress in front of the victim, or be present for sex acts involving the minor victims and Epstein.
Of course, Epstein himself was originally charged in 2006 and pleaded guilty 2 years later to procuring for prostitution a girl below the age of 18. He was sentenced to over a year in prison. But Ghislaine appeared unaffected by Epstein's fall. Here she is at the wedding of Chelsea Clinton in 2010, and she appeared at numerous public events on both sides of the Atlantic between 2009 and 2013. She also founded the Terra Mar Project during this time, an organisation that sought to protect the world's oceans.
On one of my first submarine dives, I was absolutely so excited. I thought, my goodness, I'm going to see a new sea creature. I'm going to be this amazing explorer. And off I was. I went down into the deep, and I went down to over 1,500 feet. And at 1,500 feet, I switched on the lights, hoping to see a new mythical sea creature. But in fact, what I saw was a plastic hanger. I was so absolutely devastated, but it was at that moment that I realized that I was really going to dedicate the rest of my life to taking an involvement with and bringing an education around the ocean.
Okay, so this is the woman that is grooming young girls. A lot of these they got from trailer parks and people that are already being abused, to not only take care of Jeffrey Epstein, but also loan out to rich people and profitable people on the island, in New York, in England, all over where they had these places. Okay, so this, I believe, is just the front. She says she's doing this, but we all know what she's been doing. And thanks again, Mike, or Michael, for watching so far.
It was only until the Epstein scandal once again emerged that she retreated from public life. Beginning in 2014, Virginia Giuffre accused Maxwell of acting as Epstein's madam. Maxwell said she was innocent, with Giuffre then suing Ghislaine for defamation. Maxwell and Giuffre settled that case in 2017. In a deposition from July 2016, Ghislaine said under oath that she was unaware of Epstein's sexual abuse. Quote, She said, "I wasn't aware that he was having sexual activities with anyone when I was with him other than myself." She was then asked, "I want to be sure that I'm clear. It's your testimony that in the 1990s and 2000s, you were not aware that Mr. Epstein was having sexual activities with anyone other than yourself and the blonde and brunette on those few occasions when they were involved with you?" Ghislaine said, "That is my testimony. That is correct." However, that testimony is now being used in the case against her, with Ghislaine being accused of perjury. Epstein himself was arrested in New Jersey on July 6, 2019 on sex trafficking charges and transferred to the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. On August 10th, he was found unconscious in his cell and declared dead. After Epstein's death, Ghislaine was nowhere to be seen.
Just wanted to go forward in this, or stop it right here. She denies everything. And so she denies everything, saying everything that now Epstein was arrested, put in a maximum prison where they kept Chapo and everybody. Chapo lived, everybody lived. But Epstein hung himself, supposedly, and the guards were sleeping, and the cameras didn't work. Even though the testimony from other people saying they could hear him screaming, "They're killing me." Okay, there's a bunch of different rumors and anal windows or whatever. So I find out that she is in the other part, the female part of this same prison, different tower, whatever. On my last or my test podcast, I said, well, I'm concerned what's going to happen. I mean, is she going to end up dead by hanging herself, the guards sleeping, and the camera shut off? Well, what we know now is that she is still alive. They say she's talking, and Mr. Barr, A.G. Barr, is there's some prosecution happening. It looks like there is some things shifting around, and they're going to be prosecuting some people. Some people are going to be very upset. Like I said, there are some people wearing tethers right now. We don't know exactly who they all are. We see some pictures and some video. So let's go forward. But she knew all along. She's definitely involved. If you look at what her father was doing and how he's an embezzler and how he's cheating everybody, including people's retirement funds, she learned from the best. And who knows? We might even find out that he was doing bad things to his own daughter, since, he didn't want anyone else to be around his daughter. That's sick shit, really. Hopefully we can find out and start rooting out these people. But this is the world now we live in, and it ain't worth a shit.
For nearly a whole year, this well-connected socialite was now a hermit with no seemingly fixed abode. But the FBI said it had been discreetly keeping tabs on her, and she had slithered away to a gorgeous property. And after nearly 1 year, Ghislaine was found here, in a tucked-away property in New Hampshire called Tucked Away. The FBI accuses her of the sexual exploitation and abuse of multiple girls, including some as young as 14. She now faces up to 35 years in prison if found guilty of assisting Epstein's abuse of minors. She has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. It is the latest shocking chapter in the life of someone born into huge privilege and who had huge power and influence, but is now accused of helping Epstein commit the most unspeakable crimes.
Well, what I wanted to say there at the end, now we've been hearing that she, we believe, could have escaped back to different countries where they couldn't have been able to reach her, like France is one of them. And they believe that she may have been working a long time back. That's how Epstein came to New York. Epstein had other things against him, and they were surprised that he was in one of his homes, when he was basically on the run. So some people say that she was there for that, but then when everything started falling and the dominoes started falling, that she was working with them, but then decided to flee. And you know, like I just watched the thing saying that the house she claims that she's staying in, tucked away, is actually a house owned by they don't know who, but she said she was borrowed the house to stay at for a friend, but she won't tell who the friend is. So this is all going to come out. I'm going to find out who they are trying to, why are they trying to keep her from testifying or whatever. Now, was she tucked away by our people because she was giving state evidence, and that's why it took a whole year for her to finally be taken into custody? Because if you remember, there were no pictures of her being arrested. There were no pictures of the takedown, anything. Now, Roger Stone and everybody else, there are people there before it even goes down, watching the raids and everything. But this woman was arrested and no one knew nothing. Okay? No one has pictures, don't have nothing. And there's only like drawings of her being testified over video. So we still don't know everything. I just wanted to have this this first podcast, the first one, to just kind of go over things. There are going to be other things. Some will be a lot more lighthearted and other things. And I'll bring the Baby Yoda out a little bit more. If you guys didn't see the first video, my wife purchased these about a year ago. There's the other one is up. It's behind here. There's two of them. We got them for our grandkids, and they're kind of scared of them, but they're like full size, whatever Yoda is supposed to be. It's the full size, the plush toy, that plastic head, but it looks pretty good. I mean, if you can see. So I just keep it over here. It checks it out and watches the show. So I just want to thank everybody. It is now. I've been on this podcast for about almost 33 minutes, and just going to be a short one. I just wanted to say that I'm going to try to do more about different things, not just this Epstein or the Ghislaine Maxwell. There'll be other things. It could be about game. It could be about UFO. So I just want to let you know that I happen to have a Facebook group called Unidentified Objects and Crazy Shit you can find on Facebook. I also have one called All Pets Matter. Okay, if you want, feel free. I'll line you up. And I have another one called Talk Around the Campfire. So if you have pictures of like fire pits and big fires, or cooking out somewhere and you want to share them, feel free. It's wide open to the public. So, and also I am streaming, starting to stream live on gaming. So I'm using Mob Crush right now. This particular hardcore show now live is streaming through Mob Crush, which is a very good free site that I can stream to, and then it pushes it out to other platforms like Twitch, Twitter, Facebook gaming, and all the other ones. You pretty much get everyone in, Mixer you don't want to worry about because it's going away. So I just want to say thanks again. Peace out to everybody, and have a great weekend. Peace out. I don't have an intro or an extra, so I'm just going to say